I recording now? Hopefully. Hi, my name is Susan. Nice meeting you all. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you all these sketchbooks. So I was able to found a lot of my sketchbooks from high school, which is more than 2 decades ago. Yes, I'm that old. And my relationship with art has been on and off. There were long periods of time where I haven't touched art at all, but when I got really into it, as you can see from all these sketchbooks. So I will walk you through some of my history around art, how, why I decided to take a break from it and how I got back into it. Now I'm in my 30s, late 30s. I decided that art has to be part of my life, and I'll share with you all why that is, and hope you'll enjoy going through all of these sketchbooks.
These sketchbooks were from different periods of my life. The earliest sketchbooks I was able to find was when I first initially came to Toronto. I actually grew up in Vancouver in the West Coast area, so I didn't actually move to Toronto until I was in grade 9, so high school. My mom sent me to a private art teacher around that time, and these were the first sketchbooks. And I had this beaten up sketchbook from high school art teacher. I believe it was either grade 9 or grade 10 of when I had this, probably grade 10. And these two are from the private art teacher homework assignments, also around grade 9, grade 10 period. And then starting in grade 11, I fell out of the sketchbook era and I started doing more web design, computer design. That's when I really started getting into programming. And I basically fell off of drawing with pencil pen altogether. And then these two were from university days. During university, in University of Waterloo, I majored in computer science, learning to become a better programmer, because that's where I thought my passion was. I really got into web design, making websites and whatnot at that time. So I, didn't really do a lot of art. But around second or third year of university, I realized I really, really miss art. I really need to get back into it. So I decided to pivot midway through my program, majoring in computer science. So I decided around that time that, you know what, let me do a minor in fine art. So I changed all my remaining classes, like the way that I have planned it out. And I had some terms where the entire term I had art courses, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to finish the program in time. I was doing a co-op program at the time, which means it's a 5-year program and the entirety of 2 years would be working. And the way that they have sectioned it out at Waterloo is you do a term of studying, then you do a term of working. But the co-op program doesn't apply to fine arts program at the time. Maybe now they changed, but if you're a fine arts student, you wouldn't get the co-op experience. So what I had to do is that because they don't offer co-op to fine art students, there would be no fine art classes during summertime, right? So because most people would get summer off, they would get 4 months of free time and they would do whatever they want. And I believe at the time a lot of fine art students use that time to create art. I didn't really have that luxury because I was in a co-op program. So what I ended up doing would be full term of art and then followed by a full term during summertime when there's no art classes. I would be doing entirely math and CS classes, which were really difficult to get through, basically pulling all-nighters. And also the full term of art classes, same thing, full, I remember just staying up all night in the studio painting because I couldn't finish everything all at the same time. Same with doing computer science. I would be in the lab, 6th floor or 5th floor in the MC building, mathematics and computer science building. That whole floor is lab, really dim light, and staying all night because I couldn't finish all my assignments. So yeah, those were from university days, and then these were from post-university days, and I will share with you what sketchbook I started when I was working as a consultant building software for other people, and then another one I started around 2-3 years ago, and you can see how different they all were. Let's start with the earliest one, which is this sketchbook. I don't even remember where I bought this from, but I'm pretty sure this paper is meant for a pencil because that's what a lot of my take-home homework were. So this private art teacher, I remember he was Chinese. My mom is Chinese, so naturally she found a Chinese teacher for me. He's really good. I believe he actually has, back in China, he's a well-established and well-known artist, and that's why my mom wanted me to learn from him. And he taught me a lot of different mediums during the class time. So soft pastel, oil painting, 水粉画, which is more like a powdery medium, kind of like gouache, and a few others, watercolor. There were some watercolor as well. But all in all, like during the class, he would set up props in front of all the students. There would be, light, dark, and he would explain the composition, and he would coach us through a drawing session. But he would also assign take-home assignments, which I complete in these sketchbooks. And as I go through this, you'll see I was not entirely happy with some of it, and I spent very little time in them. And I would like to say it's because I think, sometimes they're just subject matter that I'm into, and sometimes there's subject matter that I'm not into. And when I'm drawing things I'm not really into, I do a half-assed job about it. So yeah, this was one of the first take-home assignments. Also, I should mention that he was not the first private art teacher I had. I've been drawing since I was a little girl, but I grew up in China, and a lot of those old artwork are nowhere to be found anymore because, I grew up with my grandparents, and both of them are no longer around. And then I moved to Vancouver, living with my dad, and yes, I had a private art teacher there as well, but then same thing, a lot of those history are just gone. So this is unfortunately the earliest I'm able to find. Yeah, so the first few were all, see clearly, very half-assed job. I don't probably spend no more than 10 minutes on this. Same with this. This was a self-portrait. It doesn't, it doesn't look like there is a resemblance, but definitely not perfect. This forehead is way too big, and anatomy is completely off. Same with this. Clearly don't know how to draw babies at the time. The chin is too big. This was my mom. Too big. There's even marking of where, even that marking, if I drew it here, it would be too big. This one is relatively accurate. Okay, so some starting here, maybe some shading exercises. This is where we got into learning about values and whatnot. This definitely is not a homework. Back into drawing line art. I think I actually quite enjoy drawing this one, although it's not a portrait. I can't remember if this is someone I know, and that's why I drew her, or this is also a take-home assignment. These were definitely take-home assignments. These, I believe, are actually sketches or drawings of my art teacher, and he scanned them and gave us handouts. So in Chinese, in these sketching classes, there's a exercise called Lin Mo, which I believe, I don't know what it translates to, I never looked it up, but what it is you take someone else's artwork and you try your best to study it and mimic it. So you follow the way that they, if it's a sketching, then you follow the way that they do the hatching, and you try to copy it exactly like the way that they had drawn it, following their art style. So these few, I believe, are all drawings or artwork that belong to my art teacher, and I'm just merely studying from them by copying them one-to-one. This was my friend. These were all from my art teacher. And these few, I'm pretty sure, are just still life. So these are still life assignments. He would be asking me to set up a prompt at home and draw from real life. So I think these were all fairly standard if we were to learn kind of following the academy of pencil sketching. These would be the type of homework or the type of learning practices or exercises that you would go through. And I do recommend it. It trains your eyes. This was a toy of mine. It trains your eyes to be more observant, to pick up subtle cues. For example, one of the things I think as a child I really struggle with is what is reflection. Reflection sometimes can be one-to-one. Sometimes it can be really, really subtle and you can't even pick it up, especially in painting. So when we're drawing someone's face, there's actually a lot of reflection that happens that bounces light back onto the face. And it's really hard to pick that up without just looking at people in real life, because those reflections are really difficult to pick up when you are looking at a photograph. And in real life, when you're going through these type of studies, you just look at an object. In real life, that is a lot more obvious. So I don't know if I can. So for example, right, if I put this book right here, there are some subtle orange hues reflected onto this paper. Whereas if I use a different color, like this green, I don't know how much my camera is able to pick that up, but I can certainly see that in real life. This is another one where I'm just copying from my teacher's artwork. So I think throughout my art journey, I've always came across these type, and I have a lot of larger scale exercises in my sketchbook. This is just a small section. I have, so many classes. Where I think when I was maybe around 7, 8 years old, I drew so much of these. That's all I drew. And I hated it. Oh my God. Like every time I look at one of these, Statues, I would be, oh, I really don't want to draw it. But you know what? They did teach me. I don't know what this was. Okay, so now we're into some line art exercises. These I actually enjoy. So these are from real life. And I'll be looking at it, picking up the lines that I see. So all these exercises to me are just a training of the eyes, right? You are training yourself to be more observant, to pick up things that other people don't see. So, you know, when you're going through these type of exercises, you're training your eye to pick up the values, right? The shading, so that it makes your drawings look more 3D, three-dimensional. Whereas these, it trains your eyes to pick up the lines that make up the world that you see. And some artists are, you know, they pick up these things one over the other, right? Some people are more observant when it comes to colors. Some people are more observant when it comes to lines. When you look at the world around you, what do you see? Do you see lines or do you see shapes? I think this is actually, I looked at an actual dog. And this is a drawing of my home. Again, drawing of my home. And random pages. I guess I stopped using this for my art teacher. These are definitely things that I wanted to draw. And give you a glimpse of the things that I draw, if it's not take-home assignments. All right, that's it. That's what's in this sketchbook. And move on to the subsequent sketchbook that I used for take-home assignments. I can't remember if this was assignment or not. So this is a very similar book as the other one, the type of paper. Primarily, I would say this is meant for pencil or graphite. But you see what I mean by graphite? I just hate how it transfers on here and then it smudges and then it transfers back onto your drawing and then it makes the drawing all dusty looking. I'm pretty sure when I first drawn this, it looked a lot better. Again, I've drawn this person, David, so many times. This is from a copy of my art teacher's artwork. There were a few that I've done that I actually really like, and I've taken it out of the sketchbook and framed it. So 2003, that's probably when I was in grade 10. There were a few drawings that I selected from this sketchbook that I quite like. And these all follow a very similar style. This was for a art competition that I'd done for Toronto. I can't remember the city of Toronto or whatnot, but everyone who was learning from that art teacher submitted a artwork, and this was me drawing different compositions that goes into the final painting. I believe the final painting was done either with oil or watercolor. I can't remember exactly what. Another self-portrait. Another self-portrait. And this is neat. It's not a person. Oh, that's it. I guess didn't finish this one. I probably stopped doing private art lessons after 1 or 2 years with that art teacher. Not because I don't like him. I think it's just I feel like it's a lot of the same old. So I kind of stopped. And this is my high school, grade 10 or grade 9. I can't remember. Let's open it and find out. Okay, so that's probably grade 10. And this one you can see is clearly more playful. I just draw what I want to draw because the homework assignments that the art teacher had was not, oh, you have to do a still life. You have to blah, blah, blah. You can just draw whatever you want. This was in biology class, and I'm drawing the person, my classmate right in front of me. I think this is Turing. Yeah, it was Turing. She was in my class. And again, more classmate drawings. Around this time, I started really getting into the exercise of scanning a drawing and then refine it using Photoshop or some other software similar to that effect. I think at the time there was Photoshop, there was Adobe, what was it called? Adobe Illustrator, and there was also a Painter. I can't remember, but these were all software that was popular back in the days, creating computer graphics. And I got really into it because I really enjoyed building websites. So I can clearly see myself scanning something like this and showing it on my website, on my portfolio. Ew, okay, just got charcoal on my hand. This was either copied straight or inspired by a Japanese illustrator who I really like. And that Japanese illustrator, I believe he illustrates for games and, you know, just makes these like little cartoony drawings and posts them online. I really like him. I find the little characters to be, this was just copied from a magazine. Yeah, so he creates this rabbit and this character with the little ribbon on her head. I really like his drawing style. Same here. I think around this time I kind of started to like develop my own sense of like what I like to draw. Even in this one, I can start to notice like some of the habits that I still have now. Like for example, one of my habits is when I draw these type of like portrait sketches, I don't like to sketch both the hair and the face and shade it in. Because I feel like if you do both, then it's so one-dimensional. Then where do you focus on? So I tend to do this subconsciously, where if I'm shading the face and the neck, I leave the hair fairly stylized or not at all shaded. So the stylized portion is one side of the things, whereas the shading, the realistic aspect, is one side of it. So that gives a really interesting side by side. So when your eye is looking at it, you kind of feel the satisfaction. This, you know, same thing here, right? Like the hair is very stylized. That could be from an anime. But the face and the neck and shoulder, it's shaded, it's more realistic. So I think around this time, I'm starting to develop my own style. I got really into, I think again, inspired by a cartoonist that I was looking at the time. This is probably for some web design, sketching for web design, and then scanned it in. Got into alcohol marker. And I remember at the time I would sometimes get request drawings. This was from my friend. I don't think I drew this. They would request that I draw certain drawings in a certain style and then send it to them. Because I had a scanner at the time. And I wrote all of my friends. I think I was the only one with a scanner. So I'd be drawing something, scan it, and then share it with other people. This was my friend. This was probably like a drawing request. I'm never into that kind of style, I would say. Can't remember what that was. Alcohol marker. It's so interesting. I guess this is because it's really old that the alcohol marker actually is bleeding out and creating this halo effect. Can you see it? It's so weird, right? This was probably inspired by that other artist, right? Short hair girl, you know, with something on her head, rabbit. This, I'm pretty sure I scanned this one and then made a card out of it. So I got really into making digital cards at the time for special holidays. And this was probably one. Same here. This is like Happy New Year, right? So I scanned this, finished the line art and the coloring on computer. This is probably it. So that concludes my high school era into university days. Okay, so as I mentioned, around grade 3 of university days is when I started realizing I cannot live with art, literally, because I was miserable, I was depressed. These sketchbooks are just accompanying me learning about other things, so by no means are they perfect. I'm pretty sure I didn't finish them either. This was probably an assignment, yeah. So again, like it's primarily accompanying assignments, so I probably had to draw it in this sketchbook, take it out, and submit it to my teacher. I don't know what that was. That this was a drawing, and then I scanned and finished it in Illustrator. Drawing naked girls. More naked girls. This was my friend, an illustration that I made for my friend. I think a lot of these illustrations that I made at the time, I scanned it into the computer to finish it and color it. I don't know if that's someone's kid or an assignment. This is from a movie that I watched. definitely very emo at the time. This was my dog when I was in university. And a self-portrait. That's it. Oh. Some more. Self-portrait. And boyfriend. Oh, I did not even realize I have more on the back. Okay. I don't know why I skip all these pages. So this is, I guess, similar to that. I can't remember what project this was at all. But these are early sketches from that. Oh, holy moly, what is this for? Oh, this is again a art project that I've done where it was an installation in the room where I created different art pieces that follows along on the timeline. And it was a basically I draw it on the wall. I guess this is designed for a website. I don't even remember if I built this website. So here are more designed early sketches, or I guess you could call them wireframes for a website. More website. Okay, so remember this drawing? That was one of the earliest ones that I made into illustration. So I guess based on the illustration, I wanted to create a website. Again, I don't remember if this was built or not. Okay, maybe that's some CS assignment. I can't remember. So yeah, this was from university days. And this as well, I'm pretty sure this was requested by my art professor. So you can see more probably academy type of drawings. Contour drawing, this was definitely a homework assignment. This is one of those exercises where your pencil cannot leave the paper. Again, it's a live drawing, so you look at something in front of you, you try to copy it, and your pencil cannot leave the paper. So what this trains you is for you to be more free, draw more freely. It's called blind contour drawing. And I don't remember what these cutouts are for. Seems to me like a waste of paper. Why did I do all these contours? I guess it's to train your eyes to recognize the contours. That's probably what the meaning of the assignment was. Again, drawing line art from real life. One of my roommates at the time, actually multiple roommates I had, they were all really into badminton. So these were the objects I was able to find that I think are pretty interesting to draw. So this was, again, a blind. I think you observe it, you close your eyes, and then you draw it. Drawing of my own hand. It's probably a remark from my teacher. Good. Drawing from real life, that was probably my desk. Again, my desk from university. That was the printer I had. Drawing from real life. Line art. This was my apartment. This is my roommate, my friend, university friend. Yeah, so this was not that great, and after I drew it, I'm like, okay, doesn't even look like him. This is also him without glasses. As you can see, the second one is definitely a lot better than the first one. The proportion is wrong. That needs to shrink. The ear should be more on the back. The head should be, you know, higher up. Like this section is not right. It should be here, right? So the anatomy is wrong. So that's why when you look at this face, you feel all kinds of awkwardness. This is much better. It's the same person, same model. That's my other roommate. They were both really into badminton. Some line contour, line art. These are all drawing from real life. So this was my hallway. This is my pencil case. There was one thing that I hate about this sketchbook, which is that it's so freaking big. Look at the size of this. I never ever want to have a sketchbook this big. It was a pain to carry with me to other places. This is self-portrait. That was me trying to draw myself on the mirror. Same thing, drawing myself on the mirror. Same thing, drawing my ear from the mirror. And this was a self-portrait again of myself in university. For some reason, I think there were a lot of people who say that I look like a cat. So I guess subconsciously I agree with them, and I drew. There were quite a few that I noticed in my old sketchbook where I draw a self-portrait and then I draw a cat. I draw a self-portrait and then I draw a cat. This was definitely a drawing where I scanned into my computer. I guess I really like it, so I also did an alcohol marker drawing of that. Boyfriend at the time, husband now, and I think that's it. Last page or some alcohol marker. Yeah, did not finish this, and I'm not even surprised. After I graduated, there were years where I barely sketched anything, and the only times where I did art related things were more design. So designing something, drawing something using like computer software, right? And I did do some painting for friends and family and colleagues, but I never really got into sketchbook. And I picked up this sketchbook, Artist Loft. This is I think a Canadian brand. I picked up this one because I was expecting my first child to be born, and I wanted to make some artwork for them. So I pick up this. This was to warm myself up. And a lot of the drawings I did, I torn out and I made little drawings. I framed them and put it in their room. So I have 2 kids, and I made a bunch of drawings similar to this one, similar style to this one. So it's either an illustration of like cute animals or whatnot, or cartoon characters later on for them, and I put them in their bedroom. And this sketchbook is not really loved at all, I would say, because all I use this for, or you know, drawings for my kids, and I will cut them out. So yeah, long periods of time absent. And if you remember, you know, the earliest one I have is from 2002. And this one I started a few years ago. Exactly 20 years later. Exactly 20 years later, I realized I really miss art. I really miss sketching. I really want to get back into the habit of drawing something every single day, or at least, you know, every other day. I need to spend some time just with myself at peace, observing something quietly, patiently, steadily, but consistently. And that's what I did. I I realized that throughout my life, there's so much chaos, there's so much moments of lost, of depression, so I also do suffer from seasonal affective disorders. So during winter time, I do feel moments of despair, and to get myself out of it, I need something to focus on. And what's better than art? Through art, you're able to focus on something. You have to, because the thing you draw, it requires your eyes and your brain to be thinking just about the subject at hand. And you must study it in order to get it right. So through that exercise, through that process, I learned to appreciate, I learned to heal myself, I learned to really enjoy just the moment, being in that moment. Another self-portrait 20 years later. My kid. So in here, I have a lot of, similar type of sketches. What I want to do is I want to finish this sketchbook and then do a sketchbook tour, because I don't want this sketchbook to end up unfinished like the others. I want to be able to finish this sketchbook. Again, it's a sketchbook where I just play in it. I use all kinds of different mediums. I experiment with them, and I don't really care too much about the accuracy. I will repeat a same drawing. Some of these models and references I used, in other mediums as well. This one I drew again here. Pretty sure I've done a pencil drawing of her as well. So yeah, that is my journey. And if there's one thing that I've learned, is that I don't want to live without art. I can't live without art. Art makes me happy. Doing this makes me happy. And even if I'm painting, I'm making other things, I think it's a great idea to keep a sketchbook. It trains your hand, trains your eyes, it trains your brain. And it really helps you get through moments in your life where you don't really know what to do. A lot of people, there were periods of my time where when I don't know what to do, I just watch a YouTube video or I go on Netflix and days gone by and I don't really know what I've done. What did I accomplish? I accomplished nothing. All I've done is filled my brain with plots, useless plots. And maybe I don't even think that they made me happier. I don't think they enrich my life in any way. So now, if I have a sketchbook that's handy and I have art supplies just around me, right? These art supplies are just on my table, and I have different kinds of art supplies always ready for me to try out, right? I have these markers and these markers. And what this ease of convenience allowed me to do is every time I'm on my desk, I feel like I have a moment to myself, I will just pick up some medium, pick up a pen, pick up a pencil, and start drawing in my sketchbook. There's nothing stopping me from doing that but myself. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope to hear from you again. Thank you for watching.